Are you struggling to see real changes in your back? Let's cut through the noise. Today, I want to show you 3 exercises and techniques that I have actually used to grow my back. All right, first exercise is single arm pull downs. Now, why are we doing single arm pull downs? Because I really like this exercise for targeting kind of the lower and the width of the lats, which will give you kind of that big V-taper look from behind. I feel that to really get a good connection, the single arm pull downs allows you to just focus on this one spot and really contract the lats. And the way that I like to set this up at home is using a single 41-inch band through a high anchor point coupled to a clenched band handle, and then have something to sit on. And if you're up against the wall or using a door anchor strap, it's great. If you have like a pull-up bar or something that comes out from the wall, that's even better, so that way you can get kind of like straight underneath of the resistance. This still works just as good. And to set this up, I like to make sure that I get tension pulling me into that fully extended position. I like to use an underhand grip. And then what we're focusing on here is kind of getting that straight up and down posture and getting a little bit of a preload where we're engaging those muscles kind of in the center of our back. And then we're gonna be pulling with our elbow. So it's basically driving this thing down into our side and behind our spine. And that right there is where you should be able to really feel that lat pull, squeeze your elbow into your side and pulling it back, and then let it up nice and slow and controlled. And then pull it down nice and slow. Big squeeze. I get a little bit of a twist to really just feel it just contracting in that lat. And you can just grind through these reps. And this one is all about control. Like, I want at least a second at the bottom of just squeezing it and then controlling that weight on the way up. Don't just let it slingshot you back up into the upward position, because you're not getting any eccentric portion of the lift that way. It's all about control. And then when you switch sides, it's very easy. You just grab to the other arm, do the same thing on the other side. One thing that you're gonna notice is when you're stepping up the resistance, because we have the band folded in half, it might be a big jump to go, say, from the red band up to our next one, which is the black. So I like to have one of our orange micro bands, which is the lightest band that we sell. And then I stack it in on top of the band. So like this orange plus a red is actually less resistance than the next step up. So you have nice fine-tuned increments to go up in resistance, because it will get very heavy at the bottom of that rep, jumping from one band to the next. Next up, we got seated V-bar rows. And to set this up at home, I love to use a 41-inch band on a low anchor point. Run that band through, fold it in half, grab yourself a clenched band handle, one ear on each side of the band, and then to make the V-bar, we just pop another handle in right next to it. And then grab yourself a bench and get yourself situated. Remember, you want to have tension kind of pulling you into that fully extended position. I like to be kind of seated up, maybe a slight backward lean, so that I can start to engage and pull my scapulas back into that contracted position to get the inner muscles of my back engaged. And then we're just gonna roll this back right into our midsection, pulling those elbows behind our spine, big squeeze. This is gonna hit those lower lats, lower traps. And because we're using a 2-arm or bilateral exercise, we're gonna be able to use more resistance because we're balanced here. We're not using tons of stabilizer muscles. And the same form applies, nice and slow on this rep. Big squeeze at the top, really squeeze those lats, get those elbows behind your spine, let it down nice and slow. Expand those scapulas at the top, and then pull it back, big squeeze. And honestly, this one is it's just a great grinder exercise that you can just fully control and really focus on squeezing those lat muscles. The biggest thing with getting your back to grow is actually getting the right muscles to fire and really feeling that engagement and feeling it only in the muscles that you're trying to work, instead of all the other muscles that are working, like your delts and your biceps, everything else that's pulling. Keep the weight low, or the resistance low and focus on feeling it in the right spot. All right, last exercise, we're gonna be doing some chest supported rows. So in this case, I like to use an incline bench, and then I also like to use the Nexus bar from Clench to give you a really good way to get a wide grip on this. And then you're also gonna need a low anchor point, and you don't need it, but I like to use this carabiner here, and I'll show you in a minute. Another good tip for this is to set up, you can set multiple bands up on the Nexus bar, and then with this carabiner, it makes it super easy to just hook in to one set at a time. And then when I go between sets, it's really easy to just stack another band right in the carabiner to go up and down in resistance. So setting this up, make sure everything is nice and centered. I like to set the bar up on something so that I can grab it. And the biggest thing here for setup is making sure that the bench is gonna be far enough away from the anchor point so that you get really good tension. So it can be kind of tricky to get into this, but once you get it figured out, it's not that big of a deal. And then we're gonna be wanting to do a wide grip here. So I like to go almost out towards the outer rings on the knurling here, maybe about shoulder width, just past shoulder width grip. And that's gonna help us to target the upper back muscles, teres, rhomboids, as well as the traps. And again, making sure that we got tension kind of pulling our scapulas into this fully extended position. And then we're gonna pull through, kind of coming back and rolling those shoulders back, pulling those scapulas back all the way. Peak contraction, big squeeze. Let it down nice and slow. And you can even go wider if you need to with the grip. Big squeeze at the top. Let it down nice and slow. And if you need to adjust yourself to get more tension at the bottom, do so. So we wanna make sure we're getting a good stretch here at the bottom to really lengthen out all those muscles. And then when we pull it back, making sure we're getting a big contraction, squeezing those shoulder blades and those scapulas together, and then letting it down nice and slow. And I like to grind out, a good 8 to 12 reps per set on this, and really just focus on squeezing it. Like I said in the last exercise, focus on squeezing and feeling that contraction in those back muscles that we're targeting. If you don't have a bench, you can still do this exercise. It just won't be as isolated because now you'll be bent over and your chest won't be supported, but you can still totally do this exercise. You might just have to optimize how far away you stand from the anchor point, but this is still gonna be an excellent exercise. There you go, there's 3 exercises that you can use for your next back workout. Actually, you can just take these 3 exercises, put them together, and make a complete back workout out of them. And what I like to do is right around 3 to 4 sets per exercise, with the last 2 sets being the real working sets where we're gonna be loading up that resistance and then really going for all the marbles for the most part. So basically, I like to use the first 1 to 2 sets as a warm up and getting acquainted with the exercise, lower resistance, roughly like in that probably 15 rep range. And then for the last 2 sets, I kind of pyramid the weight up and then lower the reps a little bit, and the rep target's probably right around the 10 to 15 rep range for those last working sets. And once again, focus on the contraction and the quality of the reps, not just banging them out to get 15, because obviously that's not going to give you any results. What really drives the results and the growth is driving all of that force and resistance into the muscle, creating that time under tension and really controlling the rep. So focus on quality versus quantity. If you like what you saw today, be sure to smash that like button. Also, if you want to see more workouts like this, like full complete workouts, check out this push-pull leg split that we just put together. There's a workout for push, pull, and legs, and you can literally do that as a complete program. Otherwise, there's another video that YouTube is suggesting for you to watch next. Highly recommend checking out either one of these. We have tons of content on this channel just for you. And if you need any of the bands or accessories shown today, head over to clenchfitness.com. We will hook you up, and thank you for watching.